Again, welcome to another session with the Investment Dominator. Today we're going to be primarily working on our beginner Monday session to be able to get you started with everything involved with the Investment Dominator. So just want to keep in mind that really this session is going to be able to answer your questions as well as give you tons of information on how you can first get started with the Investment Dominator to be able to go ahead and begin to set up your business as well as to, get the ground really going on what you're working on next. So just keep in mind at any time during this presentation, you can go ahead and submit a question. And to do that, you'll see on the GoToWebinar drop down here that's displayed on the screen. You'll just be able to hit the question box and then be able to go ahead and submit your questions. This is going to be the best way to reach out to me. Since I'm primarily going to be doing the live stream, I'll just be looking at the questions, so you don't really have to worry about raising your hand. Now, just want to keep in mind when we're working with the Investment Dominator of the LPG deal flow. Now, one thing we want to keep in mind is that this is going to stand transparent through everything Investment Dominator, and it's really just a deal flow that teaches you the process of what we do. So, selecting your target market and being able to get a list of landowners, a filtered list of landowners, I should say, directly into your Investment Dominator, then being able to mail letters to those prospects, as well as talk to sellers, do preliminary research, mail your offers, options, and agreements, as well as doing some open escrow, detailed research, and being able to market those properties with or without financing, as well as selling the properties and getting paid. So there's a lot of processes that are involved with the Investment Dominator, and really this is your best bet to be able to go ahead and get some information. Whether you're joining our Monday sessions where we go ahead and talk about the big three, which involve working through the profile section, as well as the company information section, and last but not least, working on our domains. And if you stick around, we could go ahead and be able to discuss how you can go ahead and get free security for your websites after you go ahead and purchase your domain. So there's a lot of stuff that we're going to cover today. So let's go ahead and just kind of go ahead with the slideshow. So one thing you want to keep in mind, since it's our Monday call, we're going to go ahead and break down some of these processes. And you'll see here that on the left-hand side, you are inputting all of your company information, followed by your county data and offer requests that you're getting. So this left-hand side, which includes property details, tasks, prospects, leads, buyers, transaction information, as well as lead tracking information. All of that's being provided from you, and that's going directly into the Investment Dominator. And what you're able to do is once you have all of that information within your Investment Dominator, what you're going to see is that you can go ahead and generate letters, as well as offers, websites, calculators and tools, analytics, as well as team management. So really there's a whole lot of layers in which you can go ahead and begin to analyze the Investment Dominator as well as make it your own so that you can best personalize it for your business as well as for your needs for your business as well too. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just dive straight into the Investment Dominator to be able to view more information. So when you first log into the Investment Dominator, you're going to be presented by this welcome screen, welcome tour, I should say. And this tour is going to walk you through the basic items of some of the sections that we have over here and just being able to see exactly what the Investment Dominator can do, as well as taking you to different areas that you can go ahead and work with. So I'll go ahead and end tour for that. But the first item that we're going to go ahead and work with on our big three is our profile section. And again, for this call, we're going to be going over the profile section, the company information section, as well as the domains. And then with the last remaining time that we have, we're going to leave the floor open to any beginner questions that we would have directed towards just helping everybody with the Investment Dominator. So without further ado, let's go ahead and break down the profile section. So really when you're working with the profile section, you'll see here you can put a space for your first name as well as your last name, and a good email that we can best reach you at. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is this email that you're selecting here, and this information as well, this isn't going to be used for any marketing purposes. This is primarily and strictly used for IT purposes and how we can best contact you regarding, let's say, a ticket on your account or maybe just an ongoing request. So go ahead and leave your first name, last name, best email you could be reached at, as well as a phone number you could be reached at as well too. Now just keep in mind that the time zone here is just important just because if you don't want to be expecting a call out of your time zone, let's say too early or too late, just go ahead and leave that time zone so we know the best time that we can go ahead and reach out to you. Now with that being said, next we have our signature image. And if it's your first time using the Investment Dominator, one thing you want to keep in mind is when you're using the signature image, you'll see here that you have a helpful tip. And the helpful tip is displayed with a question mark between brackets. So really, if you hover over these, and some of them even you can click on them as well, but this one only has a hover on effect. And it looks like you could see a helpful tip that your signature file needs to be either a JPEG file, a GIF, or a PNG format. So that'll come in handy once we start to break down this signature image, more specifically when we start to upload that image. But let's go ahead and show you the option of how we can generate a signature first. So if you click on the button over here for generate signature, one thing you're going to notice is a new screen is going to pop up with a mini form, and it's going to ask you to go ahead and enter your name for the signature as well as select a font. So I'll go ahead and enter my name, Dominic, as well as a font, and I'll be able to choose from any of these pre-selected fonts here. And just keep in mind that we do not have any fonts outside of these pre-selected. So just keep that in mind. And let's say I want to keep this one here. You also have another choice of being able to add an additional color if you didn't want to do the default. So let's say if you wanted to do a premium color like blue, we'll see if we could get a nice light blue here. You'll see it works just like that to be able to change these things. As well, if you do have the code for the RGB, you can also put that as well down here too. But just clicking on these sliders does work for me. So now I have my signature here, and what you're going to go ahead and see is the direct signature preview from the results that we went ahead and changed. Now, if you're happy with this, we have two options. We could either download this image or we could insert the signature. So what we're going to do now is insert the signature. And since we had a signature already uploaded into the Investment Dominator, what you're going to see is that our new signature, which we just generated, will go ahead and take precedence on top. So in order to make sure that changes are saved within the Investment Dominator, what we're going to want to go ahead and do is actually update our site. So by updating the site, then you're going to go ahead and see that our new signature now is moved from the top to the bottom, and now it takes place first. So with that being said, another way that you can go ahead and do this is being able to upload a signature. Clicking on the upload signature, you can go ahead and choose the signature that you directly want to work with. One thing you want to keep in mind is the size of the image that we're working with here. So for example, if you do want a smaller signature, what you're going to want to do is be able to capture as much white space as you'll see here. If you do want a larger signature, you might want to consider having it look like this. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and just stretch out and add as much white space as I can just so that my signature remains in format for my prospect neutral letters. I'll go ahead and hit confirm, and we'll see the new signature there, which takes place, and we'll update one more time. So those are the two ways that you can go ahead and change your signature image, and it's very helpful down the road. Now, also here you have sections where you can go ahead and change your password as well as the enable Tor option. We have seen some users, click through the Tor and browse through all the sections, and just keep in mind that if you're getting stuck on any screens and you're not able to click on any other sections, just be able to enable Tor as no, and that'll go ahead and fix your problem. So again, we'll just update the site just to confirm all of our changes. And the last thing here that's worth mentioning is just the API. Once you start to really work with the Investment Dominator and understand what's going on, we do have some ways where you can add integrations as well as be able to use automations just from using this API guide here. But we can talk about that more on our advanced call. And this is going to go ahead and cover our first item of the big three, the profile section. So now let's go ahead and break down the second item of the big three, and this is going to take us to the customize section up here. And what we're going to go ahead and do is click on this first tab, company information, and we're going to break down some of this information here. Well, all of this information basically. So a couple things that I do want to note, if you are taking notes, this is a pretty note heavy section, so just be aware of that. But really where it matters is when we start talking about our company phone, as well as our offer phone, and last but not least, our selling site phone. So we go over our phone system details and a lot more, and through extensive detail, I should say, directly after we go over the company information. So just keep that in mind. But briefly, we'll just give a quick rundown of the phones and what they're used for, as well as what they can be used for. So just keep that in mind, and we'll go ahead and start. So when working with the company information, first you'll see here is the company phone. This company phone is going to be printed onto your prospect neutral letters, so you want to keep that in mind, and you want to have something firm and spot here. Now again, we're going to break down the phone system as well as our phone system recommendations. But one thing I do want to bring to you right now, bring to your attention, is that the number that we have here for our company phone is labeled with an extension 1. So just keep in mind this part right here is all for demonstration purposes, and all that you should have within your company phone is just a phone number. But with that being said, our extension 1 is pointing to PatLive or Smith AI. And if you don't know what either of these services are, they're basically a 24-hour call center, and we'll go ahead and process that in a little bit more detail shortly. So next we have company fax. If you are, let's say working from home, or you do have a fax number for your company that's reliable, you can go ahead and put that down here, but I have left it blank since not too many companies do use that nowadays. But if you do have one, go ahead and put that there. Next, you'll see a spot where you can go ahead and put your company email. And just keep in mind that these tips are going to be laid out in most places for the Investment Dominator, as well as when you're generating your documents. So just be aware of that. But really, this is going to be a page where you can be, this is going to be an email where your company is going to congregate everything really devoted to it, and it's going to go directly to that. Next, we have our company name, and company name is an important process in really beginning your business. And we say that because you should really, if you haven't already started, be in the process of getting your actual LLC for your company name. And we understand that this is it's a process which needs to be done, and it does take some time. So for those of you who are still in process for this specific task, one thing you want to keep in mind is that your other option, if you don't already have your company name and you have your LLC, well, if you do, actually, you can just leave it at this format right here. But if you don't, what you're going to want to do is this format here. So just keep in mind for this, you're not going to want to put your soon-to-be company name until it's actually confirmed. So in order to go ahead and temporarily have a placeholder there, you're going to put DBA, which stands for doing business as, and then followed by your name. And that'll go ahead and suffice until you're done with the process and you've gotten your LLC name. So next you have a spot where you can go ahead and put the company address that you're currently operating in. So just keep in mind, due to the rise of remote work and really the pandemic life, we do understand that a lot of people have taken their opportunities to start working at home. This is all perfectly well, but one thing you want to keep in mind is that when you're working from home, you do not want to disclose your actual home address to anybody. And this is for your own personal safety reasons. If you were to send out a deal to somebody and that person would not be so fond of your deal, let's say. You wouldn't want that person to have access to your actual home address. So what we're recommending is that what we're recommending is that you actually go to the UPS store and you go ahead and get a mailbox just right there. And this is a great method to be able to kind of get away from that, as well as to have an additional service that'll go ahead and process all of your mailings. Now, just keep in mind, when you're working with the address, you don't want to have, let's say, something like a PO box number. Keep in mind that, we want to have all this information nice and tucked, so that way when you're sending out your mailing, you're really nailing that first impression with your prospects, to be able to kind of really just ensure that they can trust your business and ensure that you leave a great impression. So having something like this would not leave a good impression, and it might even result in the prospects kind of throwing it away just because they think it's spam. So that's something that you want to stay away from, and what we recommend, and just keeping a clean address here, and that'll be good. But just no PO box number. If you have any other additional information that pertains to the actual address, then you can go ahead and list that there. Now, also, you want to go ahead and put down your company city, as well as your company state and zip code. So all just important information. And just keep in mind that, again, you're doing your mailings, so all of the information that's being pulled from this company information needs to be final before you do your first mailing. Next, we have a spot where you can go ahead and do your offer phone. And the offer phone is very interesting because, as we see here, compared to the company phone, the offer phone and the company phone have the same exact number, as you'll see here. The only difference is that we have an extension 1, which points to Pat Live or Smith AI, again, our recommendations. And we have an extension 2, which we recommend, pointing to either a Google Voice or Skype number. So these are very cool methods that we're going to go ahead and break down further in just a bit. Next, we have offer email, and I'll skip over this for right now, and selling site email. So you'll see here that I actually have my offer email as well as my selling site email blank. Now, if you do want to go ahead and put separate emails for this, you can go ahead and make a separate email for your offers, as well as make a separate email for all the actions on your selling site. But if you actually just want one space where all these emails can congregate, what you would go ahead and do instead is go ahead and leave your company email filled out, but leave your offer email as well as your selling site email blank. What this is going to do is the system is going to then default to just this company email, so you can just keep track of that. Now, if you do find that you don't really have too much trouble with multitasking, as well as being able to review kind of multiple emails, what you could go ahead and do is actually just leave these in as your own personal emails there. So an email dedicated just for your offers, as well as an email dedicated just for your selling site. But I left that blank. So next we have selling site phone. What you're going to see about your selling site phone is this is going to be a separate number, so no extensions at all. In fact, this selling site phone is going to be very important for you as a user. And this is because when anybody is calling this phone, as Warren, who previously does this calls, likes to say, it's really his money phone. And anytime he hears it, he will want to be able to pick it up when best available. Now, of course, it could go to voicemail, and you can contact the people back, but really being always readily acceptable when there's money on the line really is impactful for your business. So what you're going to go ahead and see here is that you have a space for your company time zone, and you can go ahead and leave that there, as well as company notes. Now, do keep in mind at the bottom of your prospect neutral letters, what you're going to see is this information here. So at the bottom of my prospect neutral letters, I'll see, please dial extension 1 to discuss property, depending on what you're really going for in your business and what you want to inform people, maybe such as the time zones where you're operating. So you could say hours of operation from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. anything will suffice there, but just keep in mind if it is too long, it will start to push over your prospect neutral letter onto a second page, which is something that you don't want. So next we have a real estate agent broker disclosure. And if you are a real estate agent or broker, you're going to need to disclose that information. So if you are, you'll select yes. And what you'll see is this agent disclosure will go ahead and pop up. Now, depending on where you are in the States, you're going to see that either you will need to provide more information to this default message or take away information from this default message. But depending on where you are kind of operating, you would know what you need to add. So for this, I'll go ahead and select no. The last section here that we're going to be working with is tax ID type. Tax ID type only pertains to those people who are working with the Investment Dominator with active loans who wish to be able to generate tax forms directly from the Investment Dominator. So there's spots where you can go ahead and enter your SSN or TIN number or EIN number. And this is all, if you click on these appropriate sections, that'll go ahead and change. So just keep that in mind. And if using active loans or being able to generate tax documents doesn't sound like it's anything that you would be working with currently right now, you do not have to enter this information at all. So just keep that in mind. Last but not least, just make sure to hit the update site button when you're done. So without further ado, let's go ahead and break down the phone system even more. We're going to go ahead and talk to you about our recommended phone setup. On our recommended phone setup right now, the cheapest option that we kind of gravitate towards, just because it's proven to work, is a recommended phone setup with 2 lines. So keep in mind that these recommendations, or this recommendation, I should say, is coming from Ring Central. So if you go to lpgphone.com, and I think I could demonstrate that for you guys right now, lpgphone.com. We'll see if that comes up. Where are we? What you'll be able to go ahead and do is be able to sign up for Ring Central, as well as be able to learn more information about, what goes on within the business. But one thing I want to stress to you guys is that you want to be able to understand this process completely and what we're recommending to you, so that way when you contact Ring Central, there's not any add-ons to your service or anything that you would not need. So again, that lpgphone.com will go ahead and lead you to just request a meeting to go ahead and talk about more about Ring Central. And that's, I do believe, our affiliate link. So with that being said, we're recommending Ring Central. Ring Central goes ahead and provides us with 2 local numbers, hence why we call this the 2-line setup. So with these 2 local numbers, what we're going to go ahead and see is that this local number 1 will go ahead and point to 2 extensions. Our local number 1, extension 1, which is what we talk about here, our company phone. So for our company phone, what you're going to see is that this is going to be for people who want to go ahead and request an offer. So for those services in which there's a new offer request, we're recommending an additional service called Pat Live. And their link is landcalls.com. Let's see if we can pull that up here while this loads. And what you're going to go ahead and see here is that Pat Live is a 24-hour call center in which they will process directly from your Investment Dominator after you set them up with an account to go ahead and take these new offer requests and follow a pretty simple form and just being able to take down user information as fast as possible. But you'll see here through this affiliate link, it's really just being able to talk about Pat Live as well as be able to understand what's going on. So that'll go ahead and take care of our extension 1. And again, that was our company phone. Now our extension 2 is something different. So again, the extension 2 is branching off of this local number 1 that's provided from Ring Central. So this extension 2 is actually going to be about questions about your offer. So you're sending out offers to these prospects, and if they have any questions about it or if they want to talk more, they're going to call that extension. They're going to call your local number 1 and press extension 2. Now, the interesting thing about this, where are we at? we're right here, so offer phone. So what you'll see is that we recommend either a Google Voice or a Skype number. Now, for this directly, you're just going to want to keep in mind that you can't really delegate this number to something like a 24-hour call center like Pat Live. Really, when you're talking about the inner workings of your deals, you want to keep in mind that the only person that knows about that is you. So you need to be able to answer these calls as well as be able to respond to any questions that come pertaining to it. Last but not least, part of this recommended phone setup for 2 lines is our logo number 2. And again, this is a dedicated number that we have here, all about being able to go ahead and process questions about our land for sale that we have on our selling website. So those will cover the 3 numbers, but just keep in mind that besides what we're recommending for Pat Live, there is another service for a 24-hour call center, which is Smith AI. And if you don't want to use a Google Voice number, you can use a Skype number. Keep in mind there are tons of recommendations that are out there, but really what we're recommending is just what's been proven as well as tested. Last but not least, just keep in mind that when you're working with the Investment Dominator, this Ring Central subscription will be separate, as well as this Pat Live subscription will be separate as well too. So just keep that in mind. Last but not least, we do have our recommended phone setup for 3 lines. And compared to our 2-line setup where we're breaking down these numbers into multiple extensions, what you're going to see here is that with our recommended phone setup for 3 lines, it's actually 3 direct local numbers. And what you're going to see is that each number is dedicated to its own process. So this is a more expensive option compared to our 2-line setup. But what this does is dedicate each number to a specific service. So local number 1, completely dedicated to the company phone. Local number 2, completely dedicated to the offer phone, as well as local number 3, which is the selling side phone. So hopefully that does help you understand the setup as well as some of the reasoning behind the choices that were being made. Last but not least, we do have our domain section, which we want to go ahead and process as well too. So with the domain section, we do like to introduce the user guide as well. And what we'll go ahead and do is next to the logout button, if you click on help and you go to search our user guide, one thing you're going to see here is enter a search term or keyword. So what we're going to enter in is domain. We'll go ahead and search for domain, and what we're going to see is an article right here on how to configure your website's domain with GoDaddy. And again, this is going to be working on our custom domains that we have here. And if you actually take a look at your buying or selling website currently right now, what you're going to see is that you have a default name. So these names are designated based on when you created your account and you're assigned a specific CRM code. But besides that, you really want to have something custom that really reflects your business and not something that is just default and generic. So what you need to go ahead and do is purchase 2 domains. And what we recommend is using GoDaddy, which is a service where you could go ahead and get your own custom domains. You go ahead and pick out your names, and you go ahead and pick 2, one for your buying site as well as one for your selling site. This is really where you're going to be able to use your creativity. And one thing I will say is that when using your buying site name, you can keep something like joesbuysdirt.com. You won't really need something that pops as compared to something like your selling site. Your selling site is where you're going to have really the most attention from your users. This is because they're going to be viewing your property details as well as viewing any information that you have on your site pertaining to your business. So you want a name that pops, and the name that we're working with today on my selling site is called lotsofcashoffers.com. So with that being said, when you go ahead and purchase your domains, and do keep in mind that you can use other services like Namecheap or REI Black Book, but we do have an extensive guide on GoDaddy here. And the main process of what you're going to do is buy your domains, and then you want to point your CNAME record to the Investment Dominator, as you'll see mentioned here. By doing this, you'll be able to connect the services that's provided from Investment Dominator, and you'll be able to get your free security for your websites. So with that being said, go ahead and log into GoDaddy or create an account and go ahead and buy your domains. And what you're going to see is this simple walkthrough tutorial on how you can go ahead and set up your domains. So you'll see here that I'm logged into GoDaddy, and what we're going to go ahead and do is be able to view our domain down here and click on Manage. Now do keep in mind that this is going to be exactly shown like in the user guide here, and we're just going to do this process live. So by going over here and clicking on Manage, what we'll go ahead and see is our domain settings. So this is exactly where we want to go ahead and be. And the next thing that we want to go ahead and do is click on DNS and click on Manage Zones. So I go up here to DNS, and then I want to go to Manage Zones. Click that. And let's go back to our guide. So now it's going to go ahead and ask us for us to go ahead and type in our domain name. Now you can see just from this user guide article, if you begin to type even one letter of your domain name, it should be able to pop up, and I'll just demonstrate that now. So just by typing in L, lots of cash offers did pop up, so I'll go ahead and select that. Next is where we get into the nitty-gritty of being able to change the CNAME record. So you want to be able to go ahead to your DNS management, which we're in right now, as well as go to the records section and look for CNAME with the name www. When you're there, go ahead and click this pencil icon to edit the values. So your items are going to look different than what I have currently on the screen. This is when it's already all set up. But what you'll see is that you just really need to change the points to investmentdominator.com, change your TTL, which also stands for time to load, to custom, then change your seconds to 600 seconds. So just kind of demonstrating this here, investmentdominator.com, just like that, custom, and 600 seconds. So just keep in mind, this time to load is really how your website responds, and we want a pretty fast response time, so 600 seconds should be pretty good for us. Then once you're done, you can go ahead and hit save. I'm going to hit cancel since I've already done this. Now, what you need to go ahead and do is set up your forwarding for your domain. So if it's your first time working through with the forwarding for your domain, what you'll go ahead and do is actually just click on add. Since I've already done this, you'll see it here, but when you click on add, you'll have a spot where you can go ahead and enter your forward to, which you'll see here should be HTTP, because you don't already have security for your site. And then you're just going to want to go ahead and type in your whole domain name. So with the www.lotsofcashoffers.com. Select your forward type to permanent and select your settings to forward only. Then just hit save, and that'll be the last step that you need to do on the GoDaddy side. So now we can come back to the Investment Dominator here, and you'll just see these options with just some pointers here as well. So now you need to go ahead and map your domain to the Investment Dominator. So let's head back to the Investment Dominator, which we were here, and let's go to Customize. And one thing you want to keep in mind is that the process for either your buying site or your selling site will be exactly the same. Really, when you're setting up your websites, just keep that in mind. And since I'm working with my selling site, we'll go ahead and do that there. So I'll first just reset my domain here, which should take only a second. And I'll update my site. Okay, so once you first come to your website settings selling, what you're going to see is this default default domain name here. Go ahead and click on change your domain. And now you're just going to want to grab your domain name. And if you go back to GoDaddy here, if you're using GoDaddy, you can just go ahead and copy this exact domain, come back to the screen, go ahead and paste it. Now, just going to ask you if you've pointed your custom domain to the Investment Dominator via a CNAME record. Go ahead and select yes. That was the whole process that we just did now. So go ahead and click that. It's going to ask you one more time to confirm. Let's confirm here. And then within a short amount of time, you will go ahead and see that your domains were updated. So directly after this step, if it's your first time using your website, what it's going to go ahead and ask you is if you want to go ahead and click on OK to move on, or if you want to actually go ahead and set up your security. So just keep in mind, if you've clicked OK by accident instead of being able to click on Generate Your Security, there's an article here called SSL, which explains more in detail why you would want to get the lock on your website. So this is really the SSL. It confirms that a user can enter their information in and it will be private. It won't be public, where really people can try to intercept that data. So as you'll see here, you'll have two options, clicking on OK or click here to secure your domain. Make sure that you are choosing the option to secure your domain. It'll then walk you through a little screen here where you'll generate your SSL, and you'll just see it loading like this until it's actually completed. Please also note that it does take between 24 to 48 hours for your domain to be fully registered upon first signing up and first setting it up as well too. We have seen that sometimes it does go faster or it could be longer, so just keep that in mind. But once you're done here, you'll see that you have your new domain name as well as your security all lined up, and you'll just come down here and update your site. So that's going to go ahead and cover all of the items that we want to discuss on our big three. And now we're going to go ahead and open up the floor to be able to answer some of the questions that we have directly from students regarding the Investment Dominator. So also with that being said, one thing I do want to highlight is a user guide article on next steps for you to take right after you're done following this call. So the next thing for you to go ahead and do is actually to search our user guide again one more time and go into Quick Start. And that's Quick Start with a space, and go ahead and search our user guide. You're going to see this article here, Quick Start 1, which will have a guide on how to get started. It'll go ahead and walk through the call and what we just talked about here today live, but also towards the end you'll see some more articles about what your next step is, as well as what really you should be looking out for on what to do next. So after you're done setting up and getting all your data into the Investment Dominator, you'll pretty much be ready to send out your first mailing once you've confirmed everything, as well as tested all of your phones and websites and made sure that everything is good. You want to next begin on focusing on how you can import data into the Investment Dominator. Then you want to focus on sending out your first mailing. Then you might want to pursue generating an offer package depending on the people that you've reached out to, as well as customizing your buying or selling sites, or maybe even adding an integration to your account. So just be aware of everything that is going on here, as well as what your next steps can be. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and process some of the questions that we have for tonight. And again, for those of you that have maybe hopped on late and didn't see our beginning, to go ahead and submit a question, just go ahead to the GoToWebinar under the questions tab and just submit a question there. So with that being said, we do have a question from Sandra. And Sandra wants to know, could we review where we set up our business hours in the Investment Dominator that will be used in the neutral letters? I did look in the search box, but didn't find this in particular. So thanks, Sandra, for going ahead and asking the question. Of course, we can go ahead and help out with that. And really what you want to go ahead and do is, let's go back to the customize section where Sandra was talking about. And well, actually, I think it might help to actually see a neutral letter in action. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a record here that I was working with last week. Where's that? Nevada, Douglas County. I'll go ahead and click on Generate Documents, which is an option here, and we'll see that prospect neutral letter is able to be selected. I go to local printer and we'll download our PDF. So just keep in mind what I was saying before about what information is being added. So for example, to your prospect neutral letter, you're going to see here that you do have the address of the prospect that you're working with, as well as the APN number that's associated with that. Just being able to kind of browse through this more, you'll see that your company phone, so your company phone is listed here. which is why you want to have this number correct, as well as your buying site. So your buying site will also be listed here as well too, and you'll see the wording. If you prefer to contact us through our website, please visit our buying site and submit an offer request by clicking on the Sell Your Land tab. So keep that in mind, as well as your signature, which is generated on your company information. Your prospect neutral letter, as well as some more information about you. So for example, your first name, your last name, as well as your company name and your company phone. Oh, looks like I clicked on a link there. And the last thing that we're talking about here, so this is the section that you were talking about specifically, Sandra, and your company notes. So this will be where you can just leave a spot or leave a message for your users. And if we go back here to our company information, there's really two sections where you can go ahead and edit some notes that you want to leave prospects. So for example, if you wanted to leave something like hours of operations, you can say hours of operation, let's say 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you wanted to go ahead and leave a message like that, you can actually do that. And you just remember to update your site down at the bottom there. Or what you can go ahead and do as well too is be able to use your letter PS line. So this is another section that you can review, and this directly affects all of your documents generated with the Investment Dominator. So for example, if instead you wanted to leave a short message for people, what you can go ahead and do is use that message that we went ahead and worked with before. So for example, please use extension 1 to reach a direct representative. So either your PS line will go ahead and work through with that, or you can enter custom information here. So just keep in mind that if you do have your company notes filled out, this will take precedence over your PS line that we're working with here. So just keep that in mind and always generate some documents so that you can be able to test and see if everything is exactly how you want. But we do recommend that before you start diving into more of customizing the default settings as well as creating custom documents, you really want to be able to go ahead and send out your first mailing directly from using just our services with the Investment Dominator. This will go ahead and just ensure that you understand the process as well as the deal flow structure so that you can begin to customize the documents and tailor them to exactly your specific needs. So hopefully that does help you, and it looks like what we're going to work with now is just kind of dive into more sections with the Investment Dominator. So what you're going to go ahead and see is that the next item kind of that was here is our buying site. And now one thing I would like to introduce to everybody on the call who may be new to the Investment Dominator is we actually have a new buying site theme, which you can go ahead and add, new buying site custom theme, I should say, which you can add to your existing website. So you actually see here, I don't have a custom domain for my buying site, but if a user were to go ahead and click on that, you would see they would be brought to this new custom theme that we have here. And again, if a person is browsing this for the first time, remember that they're going to want to go ahead and click on the Sell Your Land page to be able to quickly process their information and get a cash offer now. So if you would like to get this custom buying site theme, I'll go ahead and show you how you can directly upload this into your Investment Dominator. Now again, there are some helpful infographics as well as even a video down here, which will go ahead and just kind of show you a short video on how the user can be able to input their information and get a cash offer now. So really simple design, but really powerful just in being able to be clear and concise. So if you do want to go ahead and get this within the Investment Dominator, it's not default. But one thing you want to point yourself to is your website settings. And specifically, when working with the prospect neutral letter, we want to go to website settings buying, and we want to go scroll down. We'll see that by default, you have this legacy theme option, as well as this 2.0 option here, which you can choose. And just keep in mind that our legacy theme option has been tested and proven for years. And we just added recently this 2.0 option, which we have tested as well and works great. But if you did want some custom themes, you'll see some of the options that we do have here, such as Blue Ocean, LandGen, as well as Red Black. So what you're going to want to go ahead and do is actually click on the help section. Let's see if I can open that in a new tab of the Investment Dominator. I'll close this. And you want to go ahead and search our user guide. And for this, you want to go ahead and type in buying site. By typing in buying site and hitting enter, what you're going to see is that you do have a couple ways where you can create your own theme as well as change the look of your buying site. If you click on the specific article to create your own custom buying site theme, what you're going to go ahead and see is that there are a ton of resources in which you can go ahead and begin the process to change your custom theme or to be able to customize, and tailor your message to a developer that you would hire to be able to go ahead and work through with this. Now, just keep in mind that we are making it a goal by the end of the year to have some new custom themes which are available for your buying and selling site. So really, you won't have a need to go ahead and get that developer. And just to be able to kind of view what we're looking to do, this option right here called LandGen is really a great opportunity to see what's coming within the Investment Dominator. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is under my buying website settings, I'm actually going to go ahead and remove the LandGen for right now. And we're going to go ahead and update it. So I'll go ahead and choose the 2.0 option right here, and I'll just update my site for now. But if we go back to this article, what we're going to see is that we have a little download option down here that's right directly below some of the images of the themes that we have. So the specific one that we're going to be working with right now, which is the elegant theme, which was just uploaded, is this LandGen one here. So you can actually go ahead and click on this whole image and it'll download the zip folder. Then, well, actually, before I kind of dive more into how you can add it, if you scroll down to the bottom here, what you're going to go ahead and see is some settings that might be helpful if you're either beginning to design your own website, which you would use HTML or CSS, or if you're going to go ahead and send this off to a developer to go ahead and work on. You just want to keep in mind of the required files that are needed for it to function, as well as some optional files here. And I do believe we have some merge fields down below, which also can be picked up by the system. This does help when you start to work with custom documents and you want to add specific information from the Investment Dominator. We go by using merge fields to be able to pull that information directly from the Investment Dominator onto your websites or documents. So with that being said, in order to go ahead and upload the theme, you're just going to want to come back to your Customize section within the Investment Dominator, click on Website Settings Buying, scroll down, and instead of choosing one of the default themes that we already have installed, you're just going to go ahead and click on Upload Custom Theme. If you've just downloaded it, you should be able to go to your downloads and click on the first item there, which is the LandGen option for me. So I'll go ahead and see that your theme was uploaded correctly, and we'll just go ahead and hit on OK. So that doesn't mean that we're done though. The last step for us to go ahead and do is to deselect the option that we were working with previously and select the new option that we want, which is LandGen. We'll go ahead and scroll down to the bottom here, update your site, and you will see that you have a nice, elegant buying site, which will go ahead and properly register. So hopefully that does help you and show you just some of the ways that, number one, you can use the user guide as a resource. The user guide is really everything about the Investment Dominator, and all of the guides that we go ahead and put up, as well as make articles about. And just keep in mind that at any time, if you do feel like maybe we need an article or we need to update some of the information on the article, you can come down here to the support help section, where you can go ahead and search our user guide, but instead you can go to suggest a feature, which is right here. And you can go ahead and list your feature update there, as well as how important this feature would be to you. And this will go ahead and just kind of create an open space where we can be able to talk to you directly about this immediate feature change, or not immediate, but this feature change that you have requested, as well as, if there's any existing resources that already might be out there, which would help. So now, also, I briefly clicked on it before, but if you do want to sign up for our Thursday advanced session in which we talk for a complete hour about all advanced topics with the Investment Dominator, go ahead and click on this option here for weekly live Q&A training calls and select for our Thursday session. And again, thank you all for joining for our Monday session today. Just keep in mind that if at any time, if you felt like this call was going fast, you are able to go ahead and view the past recordings of the past calls that we've had just by clicking on this button here to click to view replays of previous live Q&A calls. So hopefully that does help you, and as well as provide a resource to you when using the Investment Dominator. And really the last section here of this help section is all about creating a support ticket, as well as reviewing your ticket history. So the great thing about creating a support ticket is you don't have to feel like you are alone when you're working with the Investment Dominator. We do have some Facebook groups which you can go ahead and join, which will just provide more of a backbone for you. But what you'll go ahead and see is that if you are feeling stuck technically with the Investment Dominator, or you are feeling a little bit like you don't understand something, this is really just a place for you to go ahead and send in a request, and we can go ahead and process that for you. Depending on the request, it may take some time, but really this is a great space for where you can go ahead and ask questions, as well as find anything, or just ask about how you can find stuff in relation to the Investment Dominator. So you go ahead and create your support ticket. You can go ahead and list your issue out there. And if there's an issue on a specific function that you're doing, let's say generating a document or anything of that sort, you might find it useful, or we find it useful, to be able to actually just grab the direct URL when you experience the issue, and to come back here and just paste that. Then next, go ahead and list the platform that you use. So it is important for us to determine if you are using a PC or a Mac. So go ahead and I'll put that there, as well as the browser that you're using. So let's say computer Mac, Safari. So next would be the priority of your issue, which we have here at 3 response times in critical, important, or normal. Go ahead and put important. And lastly, we have a section where you can go ahead and upload any additional information to your ticket, as well as anything else pertaining to your ticket. So, for example, if you're having trouble with a CSV file and you're trying to figure out exactly why it's not importing, it might help to be able to go ahead and select and choose that file so we can view it directly and help you come to a solution faster, so you can get back to really what's important with the Investment Dominator. So really, there's a lot of existing tools that are kind of here to help you, as well as even just viewing this ticket history and being able to see all of the tickets that you sent, as well as the status in relation to that ticket. So there's a lot of stuff going on with the Investment Dominator here, and really what you want to go ahead and browse next is our user guide. So just even clicking on searching the user guide there, without typing anything, it should be able to bring you to this page here. Now, when you're using the user guide, one thing you want to keep in mind is when you're searching for something, try not to do how to mail my campaign. This isn't really Google when you're kind of like working through with these things, so just keep that in mind. But let's say you just actually typed in just the keyword for campaign. So now you'll see all these articles in direct relation to your campaign, as well as how to go ahead and process that. So just keep that in mind, but you also have these sections here. So we have general. If you click on general, all of the general documents will be listed here by default. Clicking on house, clicking on house, we'll go ahead and point to all the house articles that we have in relation to the Investment Dominator, as well as clicking on land. We have all the land documents here, and the land documents are quite extensive, so keep that in mind, as well as a selling site or just anything in relation to selling. you'll see here. And now these are really the color-coded sections, and we do have other sections as well. So live training calls, as well as integrations, which you'll see here. Data, which has to do with our specific, whether it have to be with data within the Investment Dominator or our integration with data tree. Next, we have customization. This is more along the lines of how you can customize your site, as well as customize data for your documents as well too. So next we have notes. If you are working with notes in the Investment Dominator, it does help to browse through this section as well. And lease purchase management. So along with our integrations, which we talk about, like data tree or REI print mail, which if you do have a question about, we can go ahead and talk on our Thursday call. But our third integration is with Actum and being able to do active loans with some properties that you have. So you can go ahead and view that there, as well as loan servicing. So this is something around the same branch. And last but not least, more working with your websites and being able to go ahead and optimize your rankings for your website so that you can go ahead and have a higher ranking on Google for your websites. So again, you can do that by just reviewing through these keywords here, or land-related keywords that you'll see here, as well as some tips that we have around search engine optimization, also known as SEO. So there is a ton of information here, and really what you're given today is the information to go ahead and hit the ground running and being able to set up everything, and also being able to test your websites, your letters, make sure everything is good, as well as test just really anything involving your business in which the user is directly reaching out to you. So hopefully you were able to learn something from this call. And what we're going to go ahead and do now is we have our Thursday call at 12 p.m. And I'll just go back to that here. Our Thursday call, noon Mid-Standard Time in Arizona. And that's when we're going to go ahead and have our live Q&A session. So really recommend you working through with everything that we talked about today, and then being able to come back Thursday and just display any questions that you would have. But as always, would like to end on a quote. And the quote that we have here for today is from Bobby Unser. And the quote goes, "Success is where preparation and opportunity meet." So really keep in mind that there is a lot of proven success with the Investment Dominator, as well as the proven methods of how you can operate your business. But do keep in mind that everything is really flexible to tailor more towards you, as well as your specific needs. So since success is being generated from the Investment Dominator, the opportunity is that it's in your hands, and really being able to understand the processes that are going on and be willing to ask questions will go ahead and set you apart from all the other businesses out there. But without further ado, we could talk about some more advanced topics on Thursday, but I just want to say thank you all for joining today on our Monday call, and we'll go ahead and take it from there. So again, see you guys later.